How's it going, guys? Ghost Caliber here, and I just want to say this has been something that I've really wanted to do ever since the first time I've done this with the first Spider story. If you guys have read that, and if you didn't, I highly recommend you check that out. There will be a link in the description for that. Now, I just really want to say big shout out to everyone who worked on this project. There will be like a credits scene at the end showing all their handles where you can go follow these people. They put in a lot of work, a lot of hours dedicated to this, and it was really a nice journey to put everything together. And I hope that we can continue putting stuff like this out in the future. So, without further ado, please sit back and enjoy the full, uninterrupted story of the Monster Saga Trial of Jacques Marcus.
In the high court of the heavens, a man stands trial. What for? Planetary destruction? The mass murdering of both mortal and divine? Yes, but he also claimed the life of someone special. The Ascendant. A man who was the favored champion of every god from every pantheon. Blessed by each and every one of them. He used his blessings to be a hero with the Galactic Federation. Unfortunately for the Ascendant, he met a man. A man who has known no peace. A man whose parents were killed by the very same Federation for being heroes. This man slaughtered the Ascendant and the rest of his group, dubbed the Crusaders of the Cosmos. This mortal was born of superpowered forebears, and his power was one of a kind, dubbed Evolved Human. So now, bound with divine chains covering his entire body, on a floating platform, he stands before the strongest gods in each pantheon, awaiting sentencing. But little do they know what lies in the near future.
A dark-skinned man with long, thick locks. His body is completely adorned in whitish gold chains and is kneeling on a floating pedestal. In front of this man are a large council of gods surrounding him, all in large stone thrones. The booming voice of Zeus from above says,
"Welcome, one and all, to the trial of Jacques Marcus. We will now read your crimes: attempted genocide, deicide, multiple counts of geocide, multiple counts of murder, and wanton destruction. How do you plead?"
Jack, a little hazy, responds.
What? Where the hell am I?
Shiva crosses all four of his arms and says,
"Leave it to a mortal not to understand a simple question. How do you plead?"
Jack looks at him in the eye sharply and responds.
Don't ever talk to me like that again.
An air of fear covers the room. Gods begin to look at each other as they gain their composure. Jack breaks the silence with a grim smile. Loud gasps followed by similar booming chatter. Another god named Lou, tan-skinned with a bun, wearing an ivory-colored suit, arises from the tallest throne, causing the chatter to cease, and says,
To answer your question, I plead guilty.
Would you like to explain why you would do such a thing? I mean, I would love to have some sympathy for you.
Jack, once defiant demeanor, shifts and becomes sad and depressed. He says,
The Galactic Federation murdered everyone I have ever cared about. My parents, my wife, my unborn child. I will not rest until I have annihilated them all.
He then turns his attention to the gods in front of him.
And anyone who stands in my way as well.
Odin, spear in hand, shouts.
Is that a threat?
Jack smirks and responds.
Do you want it to be?
The gods erupt into disgusted chatter as Zeus stands up and interjects.
Enough! I have had it from a lowly mortal. How dare you come into this court and make a mockery of us with your foul tongue? I, Zeus, chairman of the High Council of Deities, hereby sentence you to the lowest plane of existence. The maximum sentence. An eternity into the pits of Tartarus.
A look of shock washes over everyone in the room, and Lou solemnly says,
Do you have any last words before your sentence is carried out?
Jack, angry, replies,
Yeah, I do. It seems as if you're trying to teach me a lesson. It worked. I learned no matter how hard I try, the gods will keep getting in my way. Now, I have no choice. I have to destroy you all as well.
The gods laugh as the floating pedestal, along with Jack, descend to the pits of Tartarus. Later, in Tartarus, the hot lakes of lava bubble intensely as pits of blue flame occasionally spit out a burst of fire. Gargoyles pollute the skies with their presence, and imps litter the hot rock-ribbed ground. Jack, kneeling, bound to the floor by bracelets, equipped with 3 chains on both wrists. Hades, a slim, pale, muscle-toned man wearing long black robes, walks over to the kneeling, exhausted Jack and says,
You know, Jack, this place is pretty special. Normal weapons such as spears could not harm you in the other world, but weapons down here in Tartarus can harm almost anyone. For you in particular, these spears harm you mentally, making you relive your darkest, deepest traumas.
He smiles and grabs Jack by the mouth, looks him in his glassy eyes, and taunts.
I feed off of it, you know. You crying at your parents' death on the TV. You wailing at the sight of your pregnant bride's corpse. And you relive it, which is my favorite part. It's a nice meal, just one time around. But again and again and again, over and over, I'm having a feast, Jack.
Hades throws his face down as he walks away, tending to the other 8 beings in Tartarus. Only the worst of the worst are even considered to be condemned to its scornful pits. Tartarus is built for torture. Time passes differently on Tartarus. 1 day in Tartarus is equivalent to 1 minute on Earth. What feels like months pass by of ceaseless torture. Day in and day out, Jack is forced to suffer. Then a disembodied feminine voice pierces only his ears.
Jack! Jack!
Jack responds.
Who said that?
A gargoyle named Skitter says,
Ah, yes, Mania. You think someone's talking to him?
The voice speaks again.
Is this how it ends? All that talk about revenge. All those lives lost in the crusade just for it all to end here in a torture pit.
Jack responds shakily.
Shut up! You don't know anything.
I know your crusade isn't complete.
Shut up!
I know your family is gone.
Don't talk about my family.
I know it's not fair for you to sit here and suffer while the Galactic Federation prospers.
You're right.
Come on, fight back, Jack. For your family. Haven't you suffered enough?
Jack lets out a scream of rage as he stands up, catching Hades by surprise. Hades turns around to see Jack screaming while trying to escape. Hades chuckles, thinking to himself,
There's no way he can break out of those chains. I mean, he's just immortal.
As the ground shakes and his screams intensify, He rips the chains out of the ground. Hades looked shocked, and one thought popped in his head.
Oh, shit.
Jack's enraged cries didn't cease, and the chains started writhing and thrashing, as if in tandem with Jack's emotions. He reaches for one of the gargoyles. It was just out of reach. That's when the chains shoot out, one grabbing the neck of the small, chubby, winged gray creature, and another chain slices it in half, letting its entrails drop before tossing it into a fire pit. Terrified imps and gargoyles flee for safety, but Hades is in shock, still trying to wrap his head around how a man just did the impossible. Jack begins to maliciously stride towards Hades. Hades pulls two hooked swords and gets into a defensive stance. Then, with lightning-quick speed, a chain pierces Hades' throat, the force shattering his clavicles. As he drops to the ground, letting go of his swords, the chain whips out of his neck. Now, Jack stands over him, grabbing the thick umbral bracelet, and rips it off his wrist, destroying it. But almost as quickly as he destroyed it, it snapped right back on as if nothing happened. Hades, partially regenerated, says,
Fool, you can't be separated from those chains. The chains of anguish bond permanently to the condemned. Not even death could separate you.
Jack grabs Hades by the throat and says,
How do I get out of here?
The only way to leave is a portal between realms, which only divine power can open.
So open it.
Do you really think I'm gonna do that? You're trapped here, no matter what.
Jack drops him. Hades gasps for air as the chains connected to Jack begin to thrash around violently. He looks at Hades and says,
You don't understand. It's not me who's trapped anymore.
Hades, in a last-ditch effort, tries to reach for his blades, but it is all in vain as a chain slashes his arm, launching sinew, blood, and bone fragments everywhere. Hades lets out a guttural shriek as a barrage of whips assault his body. His body keeps regenerating, but not fast enough to keep up with the relentless onslaught. The slashes begin to get deeper and deeper with each whip. Flesh, muscle, bones, and organs. When one layer regenerates, a deeper cut is made. Hades, pushing through the pain, yells,
Fine. I'll let you go. Just please, let me go.
Ceasing his barrage, the chains on his left hand lift Hades' body into the air, and Jack responds.
No. You had your chance to negotiate. Now I'm gonna have fun with this.
He begins to laugh as the chains on his right hand skewer and maul Hades. The relentless assault continues for 5 days. Hades at this point, more pulp than body. His lower half pulverized to the point it resembled squashed fruit. His upper body was crudely skinned. His regeneration couldn't save him. Death finally had the soul of Hades. Jack, now imbued with more resolve than ever, makes a decision to make good on his promise, to go to heaven and exact revenge on the gods that got in his way. He realizes that if this is the lowest plane, meant for the worst of the worst, then there is one thing he can do. Ascend. He jumps up, and the chains start to grab gargoyles to aid in his momentum to ascend higher and faster. In the process, as he uses them to launch himself higher, he ends up slicing their skin and liquefying their insides. Now, finally at the top of the realm, suspended in the air by chains holding on to stalactites, he notices a barrier. Every realm is separated by a barrier. The barriers never cease, and up to this point were thought of as indestructible. Enraged, thinking there is no way to pass, he does the only thing his brutish mind can conjure. He begins to punch the barrier. Normally, this would do nothing. A foolish assault that would ultimately be fruitless. But this is no normal man. He begins to see a crack in the barrier. When he stops to examine it, he sees it slowly close itself. He continues with more vigor and strength, assaulting the barrier. Then, almost as if it was made of glass, it shatters, revealing a dark, wet, grayish-blue place. He crawls through, knowing that the path forward can only be paved through the realm of hopelessness, the realm where hope dies and there lies no peace. Purgatory. Now, the remaining prisoners see the opening in the sky, but none of them even dare to go for it, for they all had the same thought at that very moment. If I stay here where that monster is not, I will survive. In heaven, a gargoyle bursts through the door of Zeus's quarters, startling the god.
What in the blazes are you doing here?
The gargoyle responds, out of breath.
The prisoner, he escaped AQ Hades.
How could someone do that? Wait a minute. My brother, he's dead? Who? Who killed my brother and escaped? What creature was capable of killing a god?
It was immortal. It was Jacques Marcus.
Zeus's eyes go wide as he escorts the gargoyle out of his room. Still in denial, he thinks,
There's no way he escaped. It's not like he's just gonna crawl out of the purgatory and just get to me, right?
It's getting dark in here.